Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Borough of Swissvale Council Agenda Meeting for February 25th, 2026. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. Let's go through our roll call. Dr. Alfonso Wells.
Present.
Ms. Grabowski.
Here.
Mr. Haynes.
Present.
Dr. Jeffrey.
Present.
Ms. Stribling.
Present.
Ms. Swartzwelder.
Present.
And Mayor Swartzwelder.
I'm here.
Wonderful. Let's begin with our public comment. We have Gib and possibly Mary Miller. I'm not sure if it's one or both Millers have signed up to talk about SEDCO.
Just one tonight.
All right. Floor is yours.
Okay, SEDCO wanted to talk to council about for a proposal we'd like to do. We talked to Greg Batchy about it and Sarah Ansel initially, and I guess next step is to talk with council just to make sure what we're planning sounds okay to you. We had worked in the past to, try to get the Church and Braddock Parklet finished up, sidewalk, everything else. We were made aware that AARP has a grant program, community grant program, and what we would like to do is submit a grant through SEDCO in collaboration with the borough to add a few more things to the park, or to get funding to add a couple more things to the park. What we're looking at is putting a flagpole in that can obviously use the American flag, or we've also found you can, there are attachments you can put on that basically you can do lighted Christmas trees, that you basically just pull them up the flagpole, and as long as you have electricity, you can light them. We're looking at that's why we've been talking to Sarah about trying to focus Swissvale's environmental kind of position in the park a couple different ways. One, to finally get a set of Tree City USA and Birdtown PA signs up in the park. We have both signs. Also, we're looking to potentially put in a couple of raised beds that we could put native plants in. And we can probably work with the Audubon Society, et cetera, to find the right things. But basically something that would be good for the bird population. We're looking also in those same beds, potentially putting bird posts in them where we could mount birdhouses. That we might be able in the future be able to do like a event with Dixon. Lowe's has an arrangement where they will help communities build birdhouses and things for kids to it. And the other thing we were looking at proposing doing is there was signage put up at the pollinator garden. I think Fast Signs had done it. And we were looking potentially to put in similar matching signs, but have more focus on Swissvale and the environment, whether it be Birdtown related information, Tree City related information, or even maybe something from our climate action plan. So basically it's a whole series of things that we're just kind of going to try to collect together, get a guesstimate about how much it's going to run to put into this grant application. The one we're looking at in particular applying for has a maximum of, I think it's $15,000. So far we've kind of laid out some of the information, and it's looking like we'd be under that amount. Did that actually any of that come through?
I heard all of it. Thanks, Mr. Miller. Do you happen to know if this grant is matching, or it would just be a straight up to 15,000?
Yeah, it did. Did any of that cut out? My internet seems to be acting weird.
I mean, all of the audio came through. Your video is off currently. But I think we all heard all the elements that you wanted to add to the parklet.
And just to add, when Mr. Miller and I talked about this, I think the question we came up to was, does SEDCO need approval from council in order to submit this grant application? Or are they free to go ahead and do this on their own?
That's a good question. So, why don't we, I jotted some of those notes. When we get to our new business, let's circle back. We can just deliberate about it briefly, which I imagine would probably be us kicking it back to Mr. Batchy when he returns from vacation to determine the feasibility of it. How does that sound? Sound like a plan? Circle back to that. Okay. Anything else, Mr. Miller?
I'm sorry, my internet's cutting out in here, so I guess if someone could just let me know if that sounds okay. We'll be working with Greg when he comes back next week.
That sounds good. We will notify you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. That is the only submission we had for public comment. Before we move on to our agenda items, we do have a special guest. I believe, is it Ashley? Ashley Kyber? You're muted right now.
It is Ashley. Sorry, my Zoom says Elizabeth. I'm Elizabeth Ashley, just to clarify.
Okay. That's all right. But yes, you have a presentation for us.
I do. Hello, Gib from Sethco. I am a employee of Rivers of Steel Heritage Corporation. My role with Rivers of Steel is to do community development and public art initiatives. And we work, my program is called the Creative Leadership Program. We have a 3-year engagement process. Right now we're working in Rankin. With that process, I helped Rankin write a PennDOT grant for a historical overlook. And in bringing that to a meeting with Bike Pittsburgh and SEDCO and Greg Bakke's to discuss kind of bike trail, a better process for bike trail coordination, we communicated that we had done that overlook grant. And Greg was a little bit miffed that we didn't come to Swissvale with it, but again, we're specifically engaged in Rankin right now. However, I told him I would try to find additional funding to try to provide some type of overlook piece for Lescat's Park. As I've seen the current design plans for the park, there is already a platform for an overlook sited in the park. I'm not sure where that process is for installation. However, I'm bringing to you a grant opportunity that's funded through us. It's a mini grant through Rivers of Steel that can provide a sculptural seating element for that overlook in an attempt to help you provide overlook to the Mon River and Cary Blast Furnace. So I'm going to share that presentation today. And I don't have a share screen. Let's see. I don't have a share screen option. Can you help me share my screen?
Oh, so there should be on the bottom under where you have audio visual
Okay,
participants.
I can let's see if it'll do it.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I've got the share button, and if I say share my screen, sorry, I usually use my laptop and I'm on my desktop at home right now. Okay. It's asking me to leave the meeting. Sarah, can you show the model? And I'll talk from that.
I do not have it with me. I didn't bring it home since you had prepared a presentation. Do you want to send it to me and I can try to pull it up?
Yeah, I'll do that. Let me just
Right.
talk for a minute about the what I'm giving you. So I developed a sculptural seating area for Leamington Lincoln, probably in 2021 or 2022 for a site that they were trying to develop. I'm trying, because I already have the maquette and the drawings of that particular project. What I'm trying to do is retool it for you. At that time, we had discussed with Pittsburgh Kappa and their art department to help us with fabrication of this piece. We also have metal fabrication capacity at Rivers of Steel. And so we're trying to take a Benedum mini grant that we're offering right now. We're offering, it's an invite only. We're inviting Swissvale to take this opportunity. It's a $15,000 grant to build this sculptural piece out, which provides seating and overhead canopy structure for the park at that overlook site. And I want to be very clear about this. This is only $15,000. So what I can provide for you is the fabrication of this piece. And then when you're ready with the park redevelopment strategy, when all that construction is done, then we can help you site it. We can help you install it and site it at that time, but it'll come from a different funding stream. So we do have a grant deadline for this process. Greg's been in communication with me about this, but it needs to have approval from this committee. And so I'm bringing the proposal forward to you. If we have difficulty with sharing this specific proposal, I'm going to email it to Sarah and to Greg, and then you can share. So we have we're already in the deadline phase of this particular mini grant. And we've kind of given Swissvale, because of our timing and what we're trying to do with you, a grace period to get the support needed from this council, and then also an approval through Greg so he can fill out the grant application so that we can approve it. It is an automatic approval. As I mentioned, it's Benedum funds, and these are invite only mini grants. Do you have any questions?
I think
Awesome.
one of the emails I think that I had been forwarded to me, maybe from Greg as he was leaving, said that this, and you kind of alluded to it, that this covers the fabrication of the sculpture itself, but it would not. What does it not cover? I think I saw something like the concrete. There's a bunch of things that I think it said in one of the emails that it does not cover.
Well, let me get back for a second and just say I'm a landscape architect and public artist. So when you get to the point where you need to have it installed, then the organization itself and I am at your services to try to get it implemented. We don't have, I really think that in order to do a full installation here, it's going to take $30,000. I can't offer that in this mini grant. And so what I'm trying to do is offer you the fabrication of the piece. It is a flat pack design, so it can be stored. We can store it at Rivers of Steel until it's ready for implementation. What I don't know from Greg or anybody else from Swissvale is when the implementation of all of the upgrades to Lescott Park will be complete. If it is within this calendar year, then we can help you with placing it. But if it's not in this calendar year, this mini grant has to be spent in this calendar year. So it's production of the actual piece itself.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Grabowski, you have a question?
Thank you for your presentation.
Hi, Ms. Barbara.
What would the statue sculpture be made of? What is the material you'll be working with?
It is Core 10 steel, and it's laser cut. That's for the uprights and the canopy pieces above. And this presentation shows all of that.
I see.
If I could just give it to you. But and then there's a bench seat that connects the verticals in kind of an oval shape, and that is outdoor specified pressure treated laminated wood So it's a wood bench seat, and then it's got the canopy uprights that give you the overhead cover. And because those panels are laser cut steel too, the cool thing about this is that it makes really interesting shade patterns on the ground. As the sun rotates around it, you get the light filtering through. So what we're trying to do with this is, use the material of the industrial heritage of place, but also provide kind of a modern fabrication method with the laser cut Corten steel and the flat pat method, so that it can be easily erected, and we can detail the laser cutting however you'd like. In this particular presentation, I've used kind of motifs from the Mon River and kind of a forest canopy to create the cutouts. I've also added a Swissvale logo on the bases. So just note that those types of things can be, the design detailing of it can be shifted as per the community's, desires. You'll be working with me directly to make those adjustments as we move forward. I'm going to try to get CAP. I think from when I talked to CAPA about it, they're interested in doing it. Of course, it has to do with timing in their school schedule. So they may have to do the fabrication in the fall, and which would mean, if we have grant reporting due for this in December, it would be a pretty quick turnaround. So we have some time, but I've got to get the application in from Greg to have a placeholder to keep this money alive for you guys.
And it sounds like that we as Swissvale would need to find an additional pot of money to actually pay for the installation. Did I hear that right?
I would say yes. However, I also write grants with the Organization for Communities, so I could help you identify that money. And just to note back to Gib, if he needs help with the planters and things like that, we can assist. So we do provide services for all the communities in our heritage area. It just comes from different funding sources. So there's ways for me, if you want to pursue this, there's ways for me to leverage other funds in the institution and also look for the grant money. So it wouldn't be all on your shoulders to do it. We would help you do that.
But we still need to find that money.
Yeah.
And
So when is the park, the implementation of the park going to be completed?
The man who knows that is not here.
Is it Greg?
yes.
So
Okay.
I can speak to that a little bit. I don't think we've moved on to phase 2 yet in the park, but it sounds like in this case, what we would need in place is a concrete slab.
That's
And
correct.
And so I think we could implement that
Yeah.
apart from the overall plan for the park. Since
Okay.
that area is already clear down there where we had considered putting the overlook, I don't see it as a problem. Again, I'm not the borough manager, so I can't speak for that, but
Well, and
I
I
would
would
say,
say
yeah.
that, I need to go out there with Greg or with you, somebody, and look at kind of the dimensions of that, and then also what the drop off is right there, because I know in Rankin it's 105 feet drop off for where their overlook is sited. So if it is that type of drop off there, then we would need a fence rail at the back of the concrete pad to make sure that people don't fall right over the edge.
Brittany, go ahead.
I'm also wondering if this would actually be more fitting for the Collingwood park area, because I believe in discussions about the trail and the overlooks, it would be overlook in Rankin and then an overlook farther down on Collingwood rather than Memorial. So again, when Greg gets back, that might be like a caveat to the whole project. I know that there's been discussions about down at Memorial that the ground actually isn't, I don't know, filled correctly, that you can put structures there.
Yeah.
But then up further, again, when you get to the Collingwood area, it might work better. So
I think from the organization, there's no, you can select where you want to put it, but the purpose is to be an overlook. So
yeah,
we want to put it at whatever site is more fitting for you to utilize as a community.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity, and I think it'll be fantastic. It's just a matter of figuring out. And when Greg gets back, then like it's been discussed, then we can hash out the details. But
Okay.
I'm excited for it.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
So
Also,
actually,
I just wanted to communicate to this council. I will be helping Sedco and Greg with the bike feasibility study. I lead community processes, and so that seems to be one of the hiccups. With the last attempt at a trail connector, it's been a little bit of a rocky road in Rankin for me because of that. So we're going to try to even out the rails and make sure that you get a bike connector trail as well.
thank you. So Ashley, why don't you go ahead and send that model to Sarah? She can disperse it to the rest of council. We can take a look at it, and in the meantime, when Greg gets back, as was said, we can revisit this with him. You can meet with him and look at both Memorial and Collingwood and kind of evaluate, and we can go from there.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Take care.
You
Bye-bye.
too. All right, let's move on to our agenda items. 4A is listed as discuss PennDOT maintenance agreement for parkway mowing. I know we talked about this last month. I don't know if you saw the email that was circulated by Greg that just he was just passing on the information of him reaching out to PennDOT. Do you want to put this on the agenda for next week, or would you like to keep tabling it?
I can jump in here real quick, and please excuse my voice. I have a cold I'm trying to get over. I discussed this with Bob today, and our thoughts were that if PennDOT is offering this, then it's PennDOT's responsibility to ensure that that there are no issues on their end with their own union workers. And so I think there's no barrier that we can see to that. As long as, if PennDOT is offering that.
Thank you, Ms. Cooney. Any comments from council?
We should probably get it done by the next meeting. That'd be nice. There's no barrier. We already had an agreement. We were already doing it. So there should be that's not our job to find out who they're paying to do whatever. This is our contract. So we should probably just get that done as soon as possible.
Sounds good. Well, we'll put it on the agenda then for next week. I see a lot of head nods. Great. All right, let's move down to 4B, discuss opting into the Allegheny County Community Development Block Grant Program for 2027 to 2029. So sounds like these funding cycles go over 3-year periods. And in order to have access to these CDBG funds, we need to opt in. And so that's really what this would be, is just a motion of council to opt in so that we can apply and potentially receive CDBG. I always get those letters confused. CDBG funding opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, free money. We should probably go after it and opt in. And in addition, there were a couple of other grants that I've seen that they are actively trying to get municipalities to participate in. I mean, they're quick grants too, but you would have to apply within the next couple of months. We saw that at the dinner that we attended. So it only makes sense for us to opt in so that and they did say that if you don't opt in, you will not have access to it. So why would we not want to do that?
Agreed.
Yeah.
And it seems that we did it in the past, so I don't see any reason not to. Like Dr. Alfonso Wells said, free money, why not at least opt into it?
And Greg has been very successful in the past we've replaced a bunch of sidewalk ramps, ADA compliant ramps, demolishing properties, some paving projects. So he has been pretty successful getting this funding through this source. And again, I don't see any downside. It's just opting in. Okay, sounds good. Well, if that requires a motion by council, which I imagine that it does, we'll make sure that Mr. Batchey has that on the agenda for next week. Is your hand up?
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't know if that was still up from before when Ashley was on.
I lowered it and put it back up.
Okay, sorry.
I just lowered it again.
Yeah.
And I just had a due diligent question. I did look at the letter and this, what looks to be a standard form that we use for the resolution to participate. I assume it's a standard resolution. Nothing's changed from past years when we've also executed such a resolution. I just want to make sure it was a standard document that we've reviewed and signed in the past, or whether anything has changed in the form of this document.
Those are
Maybe
good questions.
Bob McTiernan question, I don't know. I just wanted to make sure. It's a great idea. I see no objection to signing a resolution. I just wanted to make sure nothing had changed that we weren't aware of.
That is a good question. Margaret, if you don't mind just reporting back to Bob, I don't know if you've had a chance to review all of that, but even just to make sure he or you take just eyes on it to make sure that it is similar to what we've approved in the past.
All right, we'll do that.
Thank you. All right, any other comments? All right, the next one, 4C, is discuss proposed changes to recycling. So I don't know if Ms. Swartzwelder or Mr. D'Ambrosio want to take the lead on explaining this. I know this has come out of the DPW committee.
I'll take over.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, this is something that we feel is going to be a much more efficient way to do recycling. The Public Works Committee met a couple weeks ago, and we talked about it. We have been talking about this for the last couple years, off and on. By doing bi-weekly recycling, it'll give us 2 more guys on the crew every other week that could go into the DPW side of things and help out with projects. It will reduce diesel costs, roughly about $10,000 to $12,000 that's invested into that route per year. That's not going to be cut in half probably, but we can definitely save a few thousand. And more importantly, by going bi-weekly, I think we can really save a lot of wear and tear on the recycling truck and be able to keep these trucks running better for a longer period of time, so we don't have the problems that we did at the end of last year.
Yeah, so this would, just to kind of give an overview for this, this is not anything that we're looking for action on next week. This is something that we're introducing here now with the potential of having another month to let it simmer, discuss it, and then potentially adopting it in April and implementing in July. And that gives us a lot of lead time to think about it, to discuss it, to adopt it, and then to advertise if that is a change we want to make. So as Mr. D'Ambrosio said, this is, you know, it allow some of the issues that we had at the end of last year were trucks all going out at the same time. And this would allow us, by going every other week, we could schedule maintenance on those off weeks on those trucks. And we know that we don't need that truck for that week. And it would allow, again, a little bit less wear and tear on those vehicles. The one thing I did tell to Mr. Batchy from my own perspective when he shared this with me is that if we do this, we need to ensure that we can't have what happened last year, that it's like, oh no, there's a truck down. We need to make sure that we are finding a way to collect recycling, because otherwise it will have been a whole month between recycling trips, and that's not acceptable for our residents. So that is the only challenge that I have to this, but otherwise I think that this sounds like a pretty good idea to be efficient, effective, cost-saving for the borough. Any other thoughts from council while we're here?
I'd just like to say that what you're talking about, Chris, I think that would give us the opportunity to actually alleviate issues like that, because that does give us an entire week. And if there's it has a truck out of service, so that's why we're doing it, is to be more proactive. And I think working on the DPW committee, that's what we're trying to focus on this year, is being more proactive with things rather than reactive to things. And this is just like one of those steps. So as a committee member, it's a big recommendation coming from us.
I just want to say, if we do move forward on this, I would really want us to also have a strong communication plan to the residents, especially with such a large change to the routine. So just putting it out there, just having a plan for that. If it's implemented in July, you know, maybe spending May and June having a really robust communication to the residents. So just wanted to put it out there as this conversation continues.
It's a good statement, good recommendation. One of the things that Mr. Batchy and I did talk about, kind of using this as the case study of, because we're often getting recommendations from residents about like, hey, send a mailer. It's expensive to send a mailer to every resident here. But we were talking about, could we kind of have this flow where annually, like once a year, we're sending a postcard with some significant changes, like this would be one of those types of changes that sometime in the spring, we design and push this with recycling being kind of the primary focus, and then maybe have some other items that might have that we want to notify residents of in the meantime. But that way there is like a concerted push that, I mean, we'll of course use social media, website, newsletter, but this would kind of replace the newsletter that was mailed to every home that we used to do, I don't know, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, but we stopped doing just because of the costs of it and moved to more the online. But this would, every resident, every address would receive one of these postcards, and that would potentially notify them of those changes, or at least redirect them to the website, which would say, hey, this is what the schedule is going to be like. Another thing Mr. Batchy said is we could look at the schedule proactively and decide, hey, these holidays like, Christmas, make sure that like the week between Christmas and New Year's is the week that's off, trying to figure out ways to minimize even, overtime and those schedule adjustments that happen because of holidays. So.
And I also assume that there'll be, when we continue to have this conversation, how much money we'll be saving. Right. Okay. Excited for that in the budget. Great.
Sounds good. Any other comments? Okay. So we won't put that on the agenda for next week, but it's here. We'll let that simmer. We'll bring it up again next month. If there are questions in the meantime, I mean, I'm sure DPW committee, Mr. D'Ambrosio, Mr. Batchy would be happy to address any of those. And I'm sure DPW committee will continue to kind of process through this as well. Let's move on to 4D, discuss speeding concerns on Lilmont Drive. We added this to the agenda because at our last meeting, we had a resident share about just some concerns about Lilmont Drive, which is one of many concerns that we just seem to have in the borough in terms of speeding overall. People running stop signs, etc. I know Woodstock is another kind of rough street with that we get a number of complaints for, and so we talked about trying to add this here to do some what can we do right now in the short term for Lilmont. We do have a grant that we are going to use this year to get a traffic calming study. I know the active transportation plan has met to discuss that at their last meeting, and I think are going to. The goal is at their next meeting at March 17th is to have an RFP, request for these bids, if you will, proposals, and hopefully have a contract for traffic calming at our May meeting. That's the goal for that, which would allow us to establish and get, hit the ground running to try to do some of this traffic calming studies. But in the meantime, is there something that we wanted to do on Lilmont? And so Mr. Batchy he's in some of his notes suggested a couple of options, one being temporary speed humps and the other being some portable or temporary speed signs. So I don't know if council has any thoughts or suggestions on either of those, or wants to throw out another option to consider.
Do they have any price costs associated with those methods?
I don't have anything listed here. I do know that temporary speed humps are going to be a little like they're going to be a little more because not only the materials there, but you have to like erect signage and whatnot around them. And I mean, I know that one of the concerns there is because a lot of Lilmont isn't even sidewalks, we're going to have to be putting signs in people's neighborhood. I don't know if Mr. D'Ambrosio, I know you and I spoke briefly about this on Monday. If you have any thoughts in terms of costs, or if you have any estimates on either of those.
Yeah, I looked into it a little bit. The speed humps, the rubber speed humps, they range from a few $100s to they could be over $1,000. The electric or the portable speed limit signs, we'd probably put them underneath. Lilmont is 25 miles per hour. We'd probably put one underneath, and it would say, your speed. They range from a few hundred to they can go up over 1,000 as well. So they're not real expensive, but I wouldn't say they're cheap either.
One of the other advantageous things about the speed signs is they also count cars as they go through, which I think is important for data, because the woman who shared at the beginning of the month, I guess it was, at our last meeting, said that there were like 300 cars that her Ring camera had picked up. And I mean, it just seems like a lot overnight. Not saying that she's wrong, but sometimes those Ring things will, pick up just the wind blowing and say, hey, there's traffic. So I don't know. That would give us some data points, some extra data points to consider as we're looking at the traffic calming stuff as well.
I'd like to see if we could get can we get actual estimates on the cost of the speed bumps and the signs? While the signs will do counting for us, potentially, I think that the speed bumps would be more effective in actually slowing down people, because from a personal perspective, I know that driving over them, I'm not going fast, which I think would have a more immediate effect on the speeding. Meanwhile, the signs are obviously could potentially give us the data on it. So if we could get more numbers on that for the next meeting, so we can implement all of that stuff sooner rather than later, because the problem's not just going to go away.
Right. And Jordan, do you know how many they may need on that one particular area? Either the speed bumps or a stop sign?
I would say we would probably put 2 speed bumps. Just looking real quick on Uline, I found 2 for under 300. I found one for under $300. I'd suggest putting one on each of the straightaways on Lilmont. So let's say, $500-$600 for those. We'd have to put a sign there. And then the electric speed limit signs, I'd say we'd probably be looking at maybe like $700 or $800 per sign. So we'd probably have 2 of them. So we'd probably be into it for about, I'd say $2,000 to $3,000.
Chief, did you have something you wanted to add?
So, as part of the merger with Braddock Hills, we now have 2 speed signs. So I was going to work with Mr. D'Ambrosio to get one of them put up on Lilmont tomorrow. And tomorrow we can work on planning to get it up in the next week or so. So that should take care of one of the issues.
Yeah, I think that's great to have. Yeah.
So they're solar powered. We don't need to power them. So
great.
Yep.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Well, do you want me to have Mr. Batchy kind of do a little bit more digging into that, or do is the numbers that Mr. D'Ambrosio gave anything that you want to comment on? Keep moving forward with.
As far as you mean me or
Sorry,
somebody
no,
else?
it was more the rest of council, like
Okay,
Mr. Swartzwelder, for instance, I know was talking about doing something sooner rather than later.
I think that if we can get even one, but ideally 2 speed humps in place, I would like to see us voting on it next week. A couple $100, I think, is something as long as it fits in the budget and we have it. I think it's a good use of our funds to purchase 2 of them.
Any other
I
thoughts?
agree with that as well. And like you said, the resident who came to speak at our last meeting, she had been dealing with this for a long time. So I think it's time we get some resolution in quickly, because spring is approaching, and then then summer. So let's take care of this as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'd like to see where the money is coming from, because there were also a couple of people asking for speed bumps on some other streets too, that they came and complained and had several accidents that happened in front of their house, destroying property and gates and everything. So we need to look at it carefully because we don't want to just address one citizen's request and then the other person who had, several other people who had talked about their own streets, then we didn't address that. So, you have to fairly and equitably try to help everybody and not just the last person that spoke.
I would agree with that because I know we did have some comments before from Woodstock too. So and maybe there's a comprehensive look at this in some way that we can, take a snapshot of those, matching with public comments, residents' concerns, and high traffic areas, kind of seeing where, and this might be a phased thing, maybe it's speed bumps in these streets first and then these streets, and, again, communicating that as well.
Yeah, and I
So-
think the other street was what's that one up from Roslyn? It might still be called Roslyn.
Yeah, I
Once you
think
cross
that's
over Braddock,
yeah, I
right?
think that is
Because
the
that
Roslyn,
was
yeah.
another one.
That was another
But
one.
But once again, you can't just arbitrarily say, well, this one person had a problem. There are a lot of people that have complained. So we want to make sure that everybody is getting addressed equitably and not just capriciously because it was the last thing that was the first thing on our mind, right? So I mean, it's very important because a lot of people have complained in different areas, and we want to make sure that no one feels like, oh, well, why didn't you listen to me? I told you I had a problem and I almost got hit too. Or I told you my property got damaged and you didn't do anything. So I think that that's something that needs to be addressed and looked at. We know that we do have, at least 2 signs that could go in different areas, but we should probably discuss that and not just put it in one area and neglect the other at least 2 or 3 areas where people have made comments about their problem.
Well, I definitely think we need to stay here, though. Like you said, we've had other residents come and then we've done nothing. So we have to at least come to a point where we understand that this is a problem, get it addressed so that we don't continue to have residents coming and complaining. So we might do a comprehensive list, but we need to do that expeditiously because now more people are coming together. And this lady who came last week, you know what I mean? She said she listened to like 300 cars that come through her throughout the night. Imagine you in the middle of the night hearing a lot of cars go past and you can't get any sleep. That's why it was kind of, on our mind when we have the discussion. So we need to do that, but we need to do it and don't leave here and then just forget all about it. We need to take care of it for all the residents.
Well, I mean, and I think that's my perspective is, I mean, I'm happy to put this on the agenda for next week. I would probably be voting no, not because I don't think that it's an issue, but because like we have a comprehensive, like we have grant money and we have intentions to do a comprehensive traffic calming plan this year, which involves, I mean, residents, there's opportunities for residents to come and express what streets so that we will hear, yes, from Lilmont, from Woodstock, from Roslyn, I mean, McClure, sometimes you have people, a lot of these straightaway streets, you have people just blown through stop signs. And so, and that will, my expectation for that study is that there will be, hey, here's the plan. Here are the places where you need to prioritize first and go from there. So that it's not that I don't see there being a problem on Lilmont, but I don't want to put the cart before the horse when we have this plan that we are a few months from potentially, having a contract with to begin this process. So again, if council wants to put that on, we will put it on the agenda for next week. But I'm just saying now that I would probably vote no because I want to make sure that we are going through the process of hearing from everyone before we're just kind of throwing patches here and there. That's just my opinion.
I think that, yeah, I think I think the problem is that I agree with what everyone has said, and that yes, we need to be methodical about where we're doing this, but also we need to take action sooner rather than later, because I think that one of the biggest issues of this council is that we continue to kick the can down the road rather than moving forward on some things. And if we are working with a temporary speed bump Is it possible to do like Shanae suggested and kind of do it in steps? Maybe we start with Lilmont and we move to Woodstock and possibly Roslyn. And as things come up, because are we going to wait an entire year, which this study will, the study is not going to be quick. So are we going to push this problem down the road potentially an entire year before we take any action, rather than finding a potential, an immediate solution, potential solution? And maybe we don't vote on this next week. Maybe we take another month and we ask Greg to come up with the top 3 or 4 streets that we think are affected. And then we say, okay, we're going to place 2 or 3 speed bumps on 3 or 4 streets that are going to be impacted the most, and then go from there, using the study to put in better measures than just these temporary speed bumps, because we know that they're not going to last long, but they are a solution now.
Thanks both, Chris and Brittany. And I just emphasize what you both said, and I too feel like we need to have something done in the short term. But bear in mind, we have a transportation committee that this borough council established to address these very issues in an organized, open way. And that, yes, the grant was to go in for a comprehensive study, but just as we're including them in sorting out how we're going to accommodate traffic later this year with the bridge closure, I think it's certainly worth including the committee to see if they have any additional thoughts or resources to make sure we can address both issues in a fair way.
I'd also more immediately really appreciate Brittany's comments, because I do think Chief Watson, provided us with a very easy solution. We already have at least one supply that can go in right now that really, in my understanding, wouldn't cost us anything right now. So, and we can still do, as a combination of everyone's suggestions, phasing and the transportation committee and the grants and everything, but at least immediately we could put a bandage on Limont by using what Chief Watson suggested. So those are my initial thoughts.
Well, and I agree with that. I don't think we need to have a council vote. I think if there's just a general consensus to say, hey, we think this is a good idea, it's a resource we already have. Honestly, I'm just really curious about the amount of traffic overnight based off of the comments last month or the last meeting. And that would help us gather some data. And heck, it's one of these things that maybe we keep it at a place for a couple weeks and then maybe move it to another place so we can be collecting data on these different streets of what is happening. Yeah, I think if everyone's okay with it, I think that's a great suggestion, is to move forward with that.
And don't forget, I don't know if Chief, if you have any insight into this, but we did suggest to the resident, to call the police and so on. So I'm not sure, because that's also a data point too. So just putting it out there. But yes, Chris, agree with you with some short-term solutions.
So, Ms. Swartzwelder, what I'm hearing is you are okay not having it on next week's agenda, but basically kind of bumping it a month. We have these actions we can take right now with the sign, the speed limit sign, but maybe we can bump this to the Active Transportation's March 17th meeting for them to have some discussion around it and to try to begin to evaluate what are some of the worst streets that, if we are going to take action prior to the conclusion of the study, that we're at least doing so with some type of informed measure, as opposed to just whoever the last one to complain was. Is that a fair assessment of what I'm hearing?
Yes,
okay.
I agree.
Sounds good. Okay. I see some thumbs up there. All right, we'll go forward with that. So this will not be on, but I'll let Mr. Batchy know that to for him, kind of what his marching orders are for that, as well as bringing it to the Active Transportation Plan. And we have a lot of folks there who are, I think, excited to help out in this way. Any other comments on 4D? All right, let's go to 4E, discuss scheduling demolition clearance hearings. We had applied for a CEDTF grant to demolish 10 structures. For $150,000, we got back $40,000, which will allow us to demolish 3 structures. There are 3 that are in question that we're looking at, which are 2329 Waverly Street, 7412 Park Street, and 7305 Denison Street. So the next step in the process would to be our normal demolition clearance hearings, do the title searches. Chief Wilhelm will go through all of that with us. Greg is proposing that we have those hearings before our agenda meeting at the end of April 29th, beginning at 6:30 p.m. Chief Wilhelm, I don't know if you have any additional comments beyond what I said, and then if there's any comments from council.
No comments. One of them we already did a clearance hearing on, but we didn't get funding for before, the 7305 Denison. And the other 2 have just been long time thorns in our side trying to address. And, we have no other resolution but to eliminate the blighted property.
And just Dr. Jeffrey and Ms. Grabowski, since this will be the first demolition clearance hearing that you've been on council, you may have been to meetings where we've done this in the past, but again, we'll meet half an hour beforehand. And Chief Wilhelm will walk us through the different, sorry, pop-up just popped up on my screen, some of the different state of the building, whether or not there are liens on the property, show us a bunch of pictures of showing kind of the dilapidated structure, why it's being kind of condemned, considered blighted, et cetera. Give an opportunity for anyone who has, owners to speak into. They're invited to those meetings. So we'll have that clearance hearing, and then later in that meeting, we will discuss it. And then the following week, we would vote on whether we want to approve them as, approve the demolition hearings. Any other comments from council? All right. Well, let's move on. I'm gonna do our other new business now, just because I have it here and I don't want to forget at the end. Mr. Miller brought up this AARP grant for the parklet. I wrote flagpole, some signage indicating Tree City Birdtown stuff, some raised beds, some bird houses, signage kind of matching the pollinator garden, talking maybe about Birdtown, talking about some of the ecological initiatives that Swissvale is doing. And it looks like it's a $15,000 max grant. Anyone have any comments or qualms with the desire for Swissvale to partner with SEDCO in applying for this grant?
We have partnered with them before for several other types of grants. We know that they get grants, they write the grants, they do all the heavy lifting that our staff doesn't have to do. So it's a great idea, and it will improve the park, the parklet a little bit more.
Parklet.
I think someone asked whether there was a matching grant requirement, and I don't know that I had a clear answer. Do we know what the answer was? Yes or no?
We didn't get an answer. That's when Mr. Miller was dealing with his
right.
internet troubles. So I asked that question because I wasn't sure either. I'm sure Mr. Batchy will notify us. Will keep us in the loop on that. He will know when he looks at the grant whether it is matching or not.
Yeah, that was my only question I had. Yeah. Otherwise, it sounds like a great idea.
I will say, I mean, I know we had put a freeze on the council discretionary fund spending. I mean, we had allocated everything, but we had put that freeze on. Whether we want to keep that or lift that, I think we kept it frozen just because we weren't sure if there was going to be a government shutdown here in January. But there is still some funding that is still earmarked for that parklet. So if it is a matching grant, we may have some funding already that can help carry that a little bit farther. So I do want to just throw that out there. Okay. Let's move on to our departmental reports. 5A Police Chief Watson.
Good evening, everyone. A couple things. One, if you haven't seen it, the cars have been restriped to the new layout. So they now reflect the regional police department. So I think that came out real nice, and I think Dean Holinski and a couple of the officers pitched in the ideas, and Kromali's did the work, and it came out, and I think it looks very good. Represents the communities very well. The other thing is we will be completing our A-team training, which is the alternative response social worker program. Excuse me. Next week, and we'll get that up and running in the next 2 weeks. So that'll be moving forward. So that's all I have for tonight.
Awesome news on both counts. Any comments from council? All right, let's go on to our fire report. Chief Wilhelm.
Obviously, we covered the demolitions, which we'll be working on and have that set up for April 29th. Also, just to advise all of council, met with the fire committee on February 5th. We're meeting again on March 6th. We're working on taking care of some issues within the department, looking forward to what we want to accomplish over the next year, as well as hopefully in March, we'll be able to do some interviews. We're starting to get some applicants for the open positions, and hopefully we'll be able to bring something back to you at the end of next month regarding that. Also, we had a significant structure fire on February 7th at 7535 Dixon Street. There were no injuries. The 2 adults and 4 children that occupied the home were able to get out. And the only reason I point this out, I usually don't talk about fires much. It was a rental unit, and the people moved them in unlawfully. And we had inspected the property twice while it was already occupied, and it failed. And we filed citations on January 2nd against the owner and the property manager. And hence, a month later, we had a serious fire in there caused by electrical issues. This is why we do these code enforcement inspections. It's not to hassle people. It's about safety. And just want to reiterate that, the community safety is our focus. And had we been in there and all the things were addressed, it's likely that this event would not have occurred. 16 years ago, we used to average about 14 of those fires a year. Now we average 1 or 2. And it's because of the safety inspections and the occupancy inspections that we actively enforce. And I just wanted to take that moment to say that to council, bring that back to the forefront, and for anybody watching, so they understand why we do what we do. And of course, lastly, our fish fry is underway for Lent, and we sold out Friday, and hopefully we'll do it each week. Anybody who's interested, please come by. I understand, Ms. Cooney, you're new to our neighborhood. If you like a good fish sandwich, you need to come try it out.
Thank you. I definitely will.
That's it.
Well, thank you for your report, and thank you so much for you and the other firefighters' willingness, to go and protect our neighborhood. Thank goodness that those the individuals, the occupants, were able to get out safely, and that no one was harmed in the midst of that. And again, thank you. You and I spoke on the phone earlier today about another issue, and just again reiterating why we have these zoning regions, why we have this process for occupancy permits, et cetera, because we are trying to make the community safe and flourishing.
And people need to realize that every code that's been adopted, especially in the National Code series that we use in the State Building Code, it's all because of historical data and instances that created the need for those because of injuries and deaths. That's why they're there.
And Chief, did you know where the fire actually started?
Yeah, it started in 2 places, in the wall on the 2nd floor and the 3rd floor. It was electrical in nature because there were some deficiencies with the electrical system.
Wow. Well, thank you guys for all you do.
Just want to also say thank you, Chief. I was home when that fire started, and it was literally the street over from me, and very much impressed with the response by the department. It was very immediate and swift, and ensuring safety, making sure the block was cornered off and those kinds of things. But I'm really glad the occupants are safe. And thank you again for reiterating the importance of the code enforcement measures.
Thank you all for supporting it, because it's a big effort for us. We'd rather prevent the incidents than have to mitigate them. That is our #1 goal.
Yes, we've seen some very bad fires here in Swissvale. So I'm so glad that we have these rules in place so we can try to prevent more. And hopefully that'll happen and people will take notice. On a lighter note, if I put in my order with you today for my fish fry on Friday, would it be ready for pickup at 12? If I said I wanted 4 fish sandwiches?
It will get
start, Chief.
Miss Alfonso Wells. It will get lost. I will not remember. I gotta be, and because they use actually a POS system and everything's entered in the computer. So if you can't get through on the phone, just you have my cell number. I can run out and have it taken care of, but
Ah,
everything has to be entered that day because it all prints out time stamped and time wise as it needs to be.
how early can you order?
They start answering the phones around 10:30.
Okay, very
Okay.
good. Thank you.
And you, by the way, you might change your mind between now and Friday. You might want something else, so it's better.
I don't know. I kind of like the fish for Fridays, so if I could have it like more than just Friday, I would, but
I mean, add some of those provolone sticks. I had them for the first time on Friday, and they were very good. I'd had mozzarella sticks, but not provolone before.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, so let's move on to 5D Public Works, Mr. D'Ambrosio.
Good evening. Just a couple quick items. Obviously, we've had a couple small storms in the last couple weeks. We got called out actually this morning. Had just minor storms, an inch here, dusting there, which is basically leading to we're still backed up on potholes. We're trying to get caught up. I know I've been getting a lot of emails, a lot of calls. We're still behind with some of the patching because we patch and then we get one of these little storms and then sometimes the potholes just come right back up. So hopefully in March, we'll get a little better weather. Hopefully the asphalt plant will open up sometime, hopefully in March. Sometimes they do open it in April, but sometimes they'll open up in March. Once that happens, we get a little bit better weather, then I can get some hot patch and we can actually get some better patches done on the potholes as opposed to just patching the same ones every week or a couple weeks. That's it.
Thanks, Mr. D'Ambrosio. And I will say, I mean, one of those tough spots is Scheuer, right in front of Dixon. I don't know if you have enough patch to cover all that, but I've watched a number of cars hit that pretty hard. So, but yeah, I'm sure you're aware of that space. All right, we'll keep moving on. Borough Manager Mr. Batchy is on vacation this week. He's off, and so Ms. Ansel is going to give his report in his stead.
Yes, sorry, I am not the borough manager, but I am assistant to the borough manager, so I'm going to try to give a couple items that he wanted shared. First of all, I do have, Ashley did send me the Rivers of Steel model rendering, so I am going to share. All right, so you should see this. Now, you might be like, what am I looking at? So this is the model. So it's like cardboard and paper showing what the structure, the sculpture could look like. You can see the leafy design for the canopy. And she talked about those flat structures that would be holding up the canopy. So this is kind of what it would look like. And I will send this out tomorrow to all of council so you can read all the descriptions that she's put here. This one here, you can see the semicircle seating area as well there. And let's see. Down here, you can see kind of another example of one that's already in place. And there's the laser cut logo she had mentioned for Swissvale as well. So here's some of the just leaf laser cut design and then the bench seating laminate that she had talked about as well. So all that to say, it is very lovely. If you look kind of at what they designed here, and hopefully we can make that all work. Okay, so that was number one. Number two is wanted to give an update on the properties 7521 and 7523 Washington Street. So these were the properties that the borough acquired as to demolish so that the railroad can continue to build the bridge over the busway and the railroad. They were acquired, everything closed just fine. Everything was kind of put in back in Norfolk Southern's court. We have been working to get the utilities removed from the two buildings so that demolition can start. The issue we've come up against, you can't make this stuff up, is that multiple utilities for the two buildings at 7521 and 7523 actually are housed in 7524. So they are not even in their own buildings. So they are in the building next to it. So we had People's Gas come out this week that they were going to remove their meters. ended up they couldn't because they were in the other unit. So they will be coming back out next week. So we did contact the owners. The owners will meet us there, let us in, and we'll be able to finish that. But just so if anyone asks, you know, what's the holdup? Now it's the utilities that are holding us up. But they will also be as contingent on the asbestos report that comes back. They should be able to start demolition soon after we get those utilities removed. And then they can repair the footers, and then they'll be setting the steel. They're going to be just removing the top where the buildings sit. They're going to leave the foundations, and they're going to let us know in more detail what their solution is going to be for that later. But that is what's moving forward there. Also, the newsletter is published. It is online and it is in physical print. You can get some at the library now, and mailed copies will be going out later this week. So check your mailboxes for those. And then the last thing I wanted to share is we talked, you know, Gib mentioned Birdtown, and that's been mentioned a couple times this meeting. Just got my email today that let us know our designation for this year. And I'm proud to say that we were designated a gold level Birdtown this year, which is the highest class designation. So great job to our Birdtown committee. And we hope to continue to do good things to support diverse wildlife in our community. So, thanks.
Don't forget the Birdtown activity we had this past weekend with Forest Hills in our Wilkins Community Center, where we participated in helping to create an art project around birds that unfortunately crashed into windows. And it was a very interesting project that we did, and fascinating. And we had a lot of people that showed up for that. So kudos for this whole project and for really taking us to gold status. Yes.
Yay. Thanks, everybody.
Great news. All right. Well, I'm just going to add one thing. So every year the Pittsburgh Public Theater puts on this Shakespeare contest. It's a showcase of they do monologues, they do scenes. There's like a younger tier as well as which is like middle school age, 4th grade through 8th grade, and then there's a high school tier. And Woodland Hills School District had one of their scenes was nominated to be in the contest showcase of finals, which was held this past Monday. So there's like, I think somewhere between 60 and 80 schools that participate. Over 1,000 students participate in this competition. And the Woodland Hills School brought home the win on Monday night. So it's a pretty prestigious award for the district. Again, I think continues to show just the level, just the high level of performing arts. I mean, this was against other schools such as Lincoln Park, which is a charter school specifically focused on performing arts. And so, I mean, we really do have a really great performing arts and music program here in the district that we live in. So I just wanted to share that news. And that's all I have to share other than what's already been shared tonight. Let's go ahead and move on to the solicitor's report. Ms. Cooney.
Nothing really to add except that we'll be working with Chief Wilhelm on those demolitions. We'll be doing the title searches and coordinating for preparation for the demolition hearings.
Wonderful. And thanks for being here tonight, filling in for Bob. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Any other new business before we adjourn?
No new business, but can we have a moment of silence to the Woodland Hills student, Nadrea Marshall, who was tragically passed this week?
Yes, that is a thank you, Ms. Stribling. That is a great suggestion. Yes, let's have a moment of silence. Thank you, Ms. Stribling, for reminding us of that tragedy. I don't know if you all had seen that in the news, but again, it's the heartbreak for a lot of students this week as well, as they are mourning. I believe she was a senior. I'm not entirely sure if she was a junior or senior. I know she was a 17-year-old, but yeah, thank you for reminding us to honor her memory. Any other new business? I would welcome a motion to adjourn at 8:10 p.m.
Motion to adjourn 8:10 p.m.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. See you all next week.
See ya.